औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम। पनाह लेता हूँ मैं अल्लाह की शैतान मरदूद से। बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम। शुरू अल्लाह के नाम से जो बेहद मेहरबान निहायत रहम वाले हैं। या दाऊद इन्ना जअलनाका खलीफतन फिल अर्दि फहकुम बैनन नास बिल हक़ वला तत्तबिअल हवा फयुदिल्लका अन सबीलिल्लाह इन्नल लज़ीना यज़िल्लूना अन सबीलिल्लाह लहुम अज़ाबुन शदीदुन बिमा नसू यौमल हिसाब। Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Sad, 23rd juz, 11th ruku, addressing Dawood alayhi salam, O Dawood, we have made you a khalifa, successor in the land, deputy in the land. So judge between people with the truth and do not follow your desires, otherwise your desires will lead you astray from the path of Allah. Surely those who are led astray who stray from the path of Allah, for them will be severe punishment because they forgot the bima nasu yawm al-hisab, the day of reckoning, the day of hisab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in this ayat that we should never follow our own whimsical desires. In another place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Kahf, in the 5th Sipara, 12th Ruku, وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. Do not obey that person, whose heart we have put into ghaflat and neglect from our dhikr and remembrance, and who is following his desire and whose matter has exceeded the limits. In another place, in the 25th juz, Surah Shura, the 3rd ruku of 25th juz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, addressing Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكَ عَلَى شَرِيعَةٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْرِ فَاتَّبِعْهَا وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. We have appointed you, assigned you on a shariat from our command and our order. So follow that shariat and do not follow the desires of those who have no knowledge. If you ponder over the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning the word hawa. The subject we have touched and for the last 2 weeks and we have been going through is why follow one particular madhab? Why can't we choose from a hadith, whichever hadith, sahih hadith we find, we follow? Why do we have to follow a madhab? So the answer lies in these ayat which we have just recited. If you don't follow a madhab and if you start following hadith, you won't be following hadith, you will be following your desires, hawa. You will follow that hadith which you like and you will leave that hadith which you don't like. So this is not ittiba'ul hadith, following hadith, this is ittiba'ul hawa, following your desire. And following desire is prohibited. Allah says don't follow your desires. The question is why follow a madhab? As we mentioned before, we can counter this question by saying, why should we not follow madhab? And we will say, if we give the general public the green light to go into Quran and Hadith and deduce the rulings directly from the Quran and Hadith, while they lack basic knowledge of Arabic language, let alone knowledge of the dozens or more Islamic sciences which are necessary in order to understand the subtleties of the Holy Quran and Ahadith, then the disastrous consequence of such attempts has been witnessed before and in our times as well. People, when trying to follow Hadith, they have followed their own desires, not the Hadith. For example, not understanding Hadith, we mentioned the misal that one muhaddis, he had his field and he would not let his water pass through to his neighbor. When he was asked, he said, well, it's in the hadith, Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir fala yasqiyanna ma'ahu zar'a ghayri. Whosoever believes in Allah and the final day should not water with his water the field of another person. And by this way, he took all the water in his field, he stopped the river from flowing to the neighbor, and he directed the water towards his field alone, and he wouldn't let it pass to the neighbor. Somehow he was taken to someone who explained the hadith to him that it's not taken into the literal meaning. The meaning of this hadith is that a person should not have sexual intercourse with a woman who is pregnant by another person. For example, a woman was pregnant by zina, fornication, another person marries her, then he should not have sexual intercourse with her, because she is carrying the kheti and the cultivation of another person's water, another person's baby. That's what Rasulullah ﷺ meant. That do not have intercourse with a woman who is pregnant by another person. So he said, I thought that this is the meaning, so I left the water all for myself. He's making mistake using the hadith intentionally or unintentionally for his own gain and for his own desire. There was this muhaddis whose intention was good, but he read in the hadith, he would shave his head on Fridays, but in the evening after Jummah Salat. Someone asked him, you have a ghusl before Jummah Salat, why don't you shave your head before that, do your hajamat before that? He says, well, it's in the hadith, Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam anil halqi qabla salati yawm al-Jumu'ah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, you can't shave your head before Jummah Salat on Friday. So, Muhaddis explained to him, Ibn al-Jawzi narrates, that this is not al-halq, this is hilaq. Hilaq means sitting in circles. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, on Friday, when you come for salat, don't sit in small circles. When the khutbah is about to start, sit in the saf, in straight rows. Don't sit in circles. So he said, I thought the word is halq. And he was told that it is hilaq, plural of halaqa. So making mistake over there. When he was told, he said, you have relieved me. I was in so much pain because I have been practicing this for 40 years. So, not understanding the basic meaning of the hadith. These are people who knew Arabic language, still they failed to understand the proper and correct meaning of hadith. And these used to happen in the times before. They used to make such mistakes. In this day and age, if we let people loose and tell them to go and follow the hadith, they will just pick and choose hadith and use it for their own desire. Like Dr. Sheikh Nuh Hamim Keller. He's a good scholar. He lives in Syria. He is a Shafi'i and his wife is a Hanafi. He writes in one place that before I just used to follow hadith because I was a new Muslim. He's a convert. So he's from Britain. So he says I used to follow hadith. I read in the hadith of Bukhari that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam urinated while standing. And there was a hadith that he urinated while sitting down. So I thought to myself, this is hadith. What's wrong if I follow this one? And because before embracing Islam, I used to urinate while standing. So I used to keep on with my old practice, urinate while standing. Then he says, when I went into the deep study of ahadith and into the explanation given by the muhaddiseen and the fuqaha and mujtahideen, I realized that this urinating while standing was a one-off practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for some reason. His normal habit was to urinate while sitting down. So there were plenty of ahadith with regards to that. Tirmidhi narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by Umar radiyallahu anhu, who was urinating while standing, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, Ya Umar, la tabul qa'iman, do not urinate while standing. And he says, فَمَا بُلْتُ قَائِمًا بَعْدُ, I never urinated standing after this. Tirmizi narrates from Aisha radiyallahu anha, who says that من حدثكم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يبول قائما فلا تصدقوه ما كان يبول إلا قاعد. Whosoever tells you that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to urinate while standing, don't believe it. Because he only used to urinate while sitting down. So over here Aisha is narrating the general habit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the hadith in Bukhari, it's only mentioning a one-off incident. And there was some reason for that. Maybe Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to say it's a permissibility, that it's permissible, legal if there is a need. For example, you can't find a space to sit, or you're on a journey, you're in a public toilet at the airport or at the station, and the toilet is dirty, you can't sit down, your clothes will get najis and impure. So in that condition, you can stand up and you can urinate. But under normal circumstances, when you are home, you should sit down. Sitting down is the correct sunnah and posture of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he says that it is then that I understood that, oh, I must urinate while sitting down. And then I understood that I was not following the hadith, I was following my own desire. What I liked, I picked and chose, and what I liked, I followed. What I didn't like, I discarded. So I trained myself to sit down and urinate. So this is what happens, that you use the hadith for your own purpose. And I mentioned it at some place, some these types of people in this day and age. In one place, I narrated this from Maulana Ibrahim Sahib. He says that he was in USA, in one masjid. There were some Arab brothers sitting in one corner, and he was giving his lecture or addressing, whatever. One of the brothers stood up and rushed outside, running. And then he came back and sat in his place. So Maulana Ibrahim asked the person that, what did he do? Why did he rush outside and come back in so quickly? He said, well, he rushed outside that so that his wuzu doesn't break. What do you mean his wuzu doesn't break? Well, you see, it says in the hadith that if a person feels any good noise in his stomach, rumbling in his stomach, and he was asked that wuzu break, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La hatta yasma' sawtan aw yajida rihan. Wudu will not break until you hear any noise or you smell any smell. So he rushed outside, so his wind can pass and he can let off his wind and he can't hear himself farting. And he goes outside and gets some breath of fresh air, so he can't smell his own wind as well. So he can let his wind out and his wudu won't break as well. So he went outside into the fresh air, came back, his wudu is intact. He doesn't have to do wudu again because Rasulullah said, Hatta yasma sawtan aw yajida rihan. Now, he intentionally or unintentionally misunderstood the hadith. What Rasulullah intended here was tayaqqun, conviction. That until a person is 100% convicted that his wudu is broken, his wudu will not be regarded as broken. So, if you know for definitely sure that your wind has been passed, then your wudu will break. That's what he meant. But because that person was vahmila and shakki, he was doubtful, so Rasulullah said, if you see some rumbling, your wudu won't break. Unless you are 100% sure that you have passed the wind, then your wudu will break. So when I mentioned this, then Sheikh Iwazullah Yusufi, Egyptian scholar in Manchester, he was there, and he says, I was in one masjid in Manchester, and there were two Arab brothers talking among themselves, and one said to the other, you know, yesterday I was on a journey in a safar, and I did qasr during Maghrib Salat. So he was asked, how can you do qasr in Maghrib Salat? In Zohr, you do qasr, instead of 4, you pray 2. But in Maghrib is 3, you have to pray all 3. How can you do qasr in Maghrib Salat? There is no half of 3. So he said, well, you see, in the hadith it comes that Salatul Qa'id ala nisfi min Salatul Qa'im. That the salah of a person sitting is half of the salah of a person standing. He will get half the reward. So what I did was, I prayed 1 rakat while standing, and I prayed the 2nd rakat while sitting down, so it's 1.5 rakats. This is true, this is reality. This is how people mess around with the hadith. When I mentioned this, I also remember the incident of Hajj, and I narrated this in another place as well. That this year when we were in Hajj, some of our brothers went to drink camel's milk. When they came back, I inquired from them, how did it go? Oh, it was nice, alhamdulillah. And then my friend mentioned that, you know, Mullah Sahib, this person came, he took a jug of camel's milk and he took some urine and mixed inside it and then he drank it. And he says, it's in the hadith of Bukhari, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told some people who came that they must drink the milk and urine of camels as a cure for them. So he said, because of that, it's good for your stomach, for your belly, and that's why I'm drinking it. Now, he put it as a norm, as though if someone hears it, he will think that it was norm among Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba to drink the camel's milk mixed with urine. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never ever drank in this manner throughout his life. None of the Sahabas drank camel's milk with urine throughout their lives. It was only a one-off incident. Some people came to Medina Munawwara, they embraced Islam, they fell ill, and their color turned pale, yellow, their bellies swelled. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that your cure is in this. This is your dawa, this is your ilaj. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them to drink that as a cure. So using something which is najis for ilaj and shifa is allowed. For example, if a doctor says that you have to take insulin injection and in there is some pig's portion inside the insulin, the doctors have said that this is your cure, you can use it because there is no other cure for you. So it is only through necessity, but the person makes it like a norm. So this is how people use the hadith for their own gains and purposes. When I mentioned this, my friend Haji Abdullah Umar said that Maulana Sahab, similar thing, something happened with us as well. We were traveling from Makkah Mukarramah to Jeddah, which is only about 50 miles, an hour's journey by taxi. So he said, we set off after, just before Maghrib Salat. We had prayed our Asr and put the luggage in the taxi. While we were traveling on the road, Maghrib time started, and in the cars, the Maghrib Azan takes place. So the driver, he pulled the taxi on the hard shoulder, and he said, we'll pray Maghrib Salat. I said, okay. Then he started doing tayammum. So he said, I asked him, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm doing tayammum. For him that you do want for tayammum. What do you mean? Tayammum. A service has just passed. There's another service ahead of us. You've got bottles of water in the car. You can do wudu with that. Why don't you do wudu? He said, no, you can do tayammum. And he just does tayammum. And he goes to the musalla to lead salat. Abdullah Bhai says, we had wudu because we had started from Makkah Mukarramah with wudu. So I said to him, no, my son is Hafiz, he will lead the salat. So we put him forward and my son led the salat. So this is how people use, not hadith, Quran for their own purpose. And you go out there, you will see people who can't even read the Quran properly. Can't read the Quran, they play around with the Quran. I myself have heard people at the airports or at some service stations reading Quran in the wrong manner. Where there is in the Quran, they were reciting, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah wal tanzu nafsum ma qaddamat lighad wattaqullah innallaha khabirun bima ta'malun. They change it to innallaha khabirun bima ya'malun. Where there comes Allah sifat, innallaha sami'un alim, they change it to innallaha alimun khabir. And they say, oh, this is okay, that is okay. So they are changing the ayat of the Quran. Arabic language is going out of the ayat of the Quran. Few weeks back in the Spectator, there was an article that narrated from a leading journal of Abu Dhabi that in the Arabian area the youngsters love English and French more than Arabic, and they fall for the English and French language. They're not learning their own Arabic language, and there is a huge gulf between the elderly and the youngsters. There is a cartoon in there, and there is this old man with his Arabian scarf around his head, and another young man with earphones and the music going on, and the Arabian man says Assalamu alaikum, and he replies hi. So he doesn't even know that Assalamu alaikum should be replied with wa alaikum assalam. So this is what's going on out there, and the people just using Quran and Hadith for their own desires. Allah Pak is saying, don't follow your desire, follow ittabi'u ma unzila ilaykum min rabbikum wa la tattabi'u min dunihi awliya qalilan ma tadhakkarun. Follow Allah's instruction, follow Rasulullah's instruction. by just giving the green light to people to follow whatever they want and whatever hadith they want to follow. This is what's happening out there. This is why we say that, follow strictly, adhere to a madhab and follow the madhab. Madhab will tell you that this is the correct way, this is how to do it, this is how to follow. If this person was following madhab, he would have been told by Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, explain the meaning of that hadith of urine and milk, and he would not have done that. So, this is why we say following a madhab is necessary. Moving on. Some questions here with regards to taqleed. Some people say that following a madhab is shirk. There are people out there who say that following should be for Allah and His Rasul only. And you can't follow anybody else besides the two. So if you follow an imam, then you are committing shirk. So we asked them, what is shirk? Tell me, what is shirk? Do you know what shirk is? Shirk is of three types. Shirk fi zat, shirk fi sifat, shirk fi af'al. Associating partners with Allah in His zat. Believing that there are two gods. Like the Majus Magans say, one is the creator of good and the other is creator of evil. The good creator is called Yazdan and the evil creator is called Ahraman. And they both run the whole world and take care of it. So they believe that there are two gods. Shirk fi sifat is the attributes of Allah, like looking, hearing, and power, being alive. These are attributes of Allah. Having qudrat over everything. So hayat, sama', basar, qudrat, irada, mashiyat, takween. These are awsaf of Allah. So if you believe that these sifat and attributes are in any other creation, you are doing shirk in sifat of Allah. Shirk fil af'al is in the works of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gives life, Allah gives death, Allah gives health, Allah gives wealth, Allah gives children, Allah gives bimari, problem, Allah gives musibat. Everything good or bad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you think that so and so person gives a child, so and so person gives rizq, so and so person removes calamity, then this is associating some sort of shirk in the af'al and works of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So by following an imam, what type of shirk have we done? Not shirk fi zat, not shirk fi sifat, not shirk fi af'al. How can you call us mushriks? And if you were to assume that following an imam is shirk, then you tell me, I mentioned last week that after the 4th century, the whole ummah was united on taqleed, following an imam. The madhab of Zahiriyya no longer remained. In fact, the fuqaha after that said that the madhab of Zahiriyya is against ijma', against consensus. That is why whenever a madhab, an opinion of Zahiriyya, those who take the apparent words, that comes, then ulama say this is against the ijma' and their call should not be taken into account. So, after the 4th century, those ulama who came, they were all muqallids. Will you say that they were all mushriks? Even many among the ulama, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, whom you believe and you follow, they were both Hanbalis. Ibn Kasir, Shafi'i, and many others. Hafiz Ibn Hajar, Shafi'i, Badruddin Aini, Hanafi, Allama Kirmani, commentator of Sahih al-Bukhari, was a Maliki, Qurtubi, Maliki, and you go. And if you look at our Hindustan, Ghair Munqasim Hindustan, you will see that all the rulers and the kings, the Salatin, the Mughal Salatin and the Bahadur Shah Zafar and all the Salatin, they were all Hanafis. And you look at all the ulamas in the Indian subcontinent, they were all Hanafis. Great works of hadith. Even people accept today, Sheikh Muhammad Tahir Patni, Sheikh Ali Muttaqi, and Sheikh Muhammad Tahir Patni. These Kanzul Ummal, a huge book of hadith, was written by Sheikh Ali Muttaqi. Majma'ul Bihar, which mentions the mushkil and hard words of hadith and explains them. A very nice book in 4 volumes, was written by Sheikh Muhammad Tahir Patni. So these ulama, muhaddiseen, great muhaddiseen, fuqaha, Sufiya kiram, they were all followers of a particular mazhab. Pirana Pir Sayyiduna Abdul Qadir Jilani was a Hanbali. Khaja Mu'inuddin Chishti Ajmiri Rahmatullahi was a Hanafi. And others. So these mashayikh, they all followed madhab. So that is why we say that following one madhab is not shirk. You should get that out of your mind. Alhamdulillah, we say the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So we should not be classed as mushriks. Number 2, some claim that hadith came after the mazahib were established. And the Aimma did not have proper knowledge of hadith. Now this objection was raised by Dr. Zakir Naik in one of his interviews. If you go on the YouTube and type in Taqleed and Zakir Naik, then you will see that 6-minute clip. In there he says that you should not follow a particular madhab, you should follow the hadith. Bukhari, there's Sahih hadith, and he says that the Imam said, إِذَا صَحَ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. When the hadith is Sahih, then it's my madhab. So we should follow the Sahih hadith. He gives an example, Amin bil Jahr, that you should say Amin loudly. It's a hadith in Bukhari. So we will leave aside Abu Hanifa's call of saying Amin silently, and we will say Amin loudly because it's in Bukhari. And then he says, you see these Aimmas, hadith in Bukhari was written 200 years after the Prophet ﷺ. And Imam Abu Hanifa came before Bukhari. So he did not know these ahadith. Bukhari brought these ahadith, so we have to follow Bukhari and what these Bukhari has narrated. So you realize there how Dr. Zakir Naik is misleading people. He is attempting to say that Abu Hanifa, Shafi'i, Malik, Ahmad, these Aimmas who came before Bukhari, as you know from the dates of birth which I mentioned in the first lesson, they were well before Bukhari, they had no knowledge of hadith. And Bukhari brought the hadith to people. This is what he's trying to say. Whereas that is a baseless claim and totally false. We have gone through how the mazahib were established. We have learned that the Aimma Mujtahideen, they were hafiz of Quran, they were hafiz of hadith, and they were hafiz of the aqwal of Sahaba, and they had a great sound understanding of the deen and analogy, how to derive masail from hadith. They brought out and derived the usul of taking out masail from Quran and hadith. They did have full knowledge of hadith. In this mas'ala of Amin bil Jahl, Imam Bukhari has narrated hadith. But I will challenge Dr. Zakir Naik. Show me the word of saying loudly in Bukhari. He will fail to do so. Because in Bukhari, Imam Bukhari Rahmatullahi, the hadith which he has narrated is only إِذَا قَالَ الْإِمَامُ وَلَا فَقُولُوا آمِينَ إِذَا أَمَّنَ الْإِمَامُ فَأَمِّنُوا. Now, إِذَا قَالَ الْإِمَامُ وَلَا فَقُولُوا آمِينَ. When Imam says وَلَا say Ameen. Does that mean say loudly? Is there a word which says say loudly? No, it only says say. Now it doesn't mean that you must say it loudly. You can say it quietly, faintly as well, silently. I give an example here. Just a few chapters after this, Imam Bukhari goes on to say, another hadith narrates, إِذَا قَالَ الْإِمَامُ سَمِيَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ حَمِدَ فَقُولُوا رَبَّنَا وَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ. When Imam says سَمِيَ اللَّهُ لِمَنْ حَمِدَ, say رَبَّنَا لَكَ الْحَمْدُ. Are you going to say over here that the whole congregation has to say رَبَّنَا لَكَ الْحَمْدُ loudly? Nobody says that. So, from the word فَقُولُوا say, you can't prove that say it loudly. So, Zakir Naik, he's saying that there are many ahadith in Bukhari which say you have to say Ameen loudly. He can't provide one single hadith which says say loudly. You will go into other ahadith, maybe Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Sunan, where you will find the loves yajharu, kana yajharu bi Ameen, or jahara biha sawtahu, or rafa'a biha sawtahu. But you won't find rafa'a biha sawtahu or jahara bi Ameen in Bukhari. So, first of all, his argument of this type is wrong. And secondly, he's assuming that the Aimma had no knowledge of hadith. This is also wrong. They were Imams, they had full knowledge of hadith. This is how he is being misled, and he is misleading other people by misquoting and not understanding the hadith. He says over there that I am a proper Hanafi. Because Abu Hanifa said, when Sahih Hadith, you find Sahih Hadith, then it's my Madhab. So I find this Sahih Hadith. Abu Hanifa said that follow it, so I am following that. I am 100% Hanafi, you are not 100% Hanafi. That's how he misleads people in there. No, my dear friends, you know when we come up to this subject, that Imam said, إِذَا صَحَّ الْحَدِيث فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. Okay, when will it be their Madhab? When you find the Sahih Hadith, it's my Madhab, when will it be their Madhab? When they did not know that hadith. If they knew that hadith, but still they did not use it, then there is some reason behind it. And Imam Abu Hanifa knew this hadith of Jahara biha sawtahu. And still he preferred the other hadith of Akhfa biha sawtahu, that he said it silently. Imam Abu Hanifa looked at the practice of the Sahaba rizwanullahi majma'in. Similarly, Imam Malik as well, in this masla. Now over here we have to understand another thing as well. People think that because there are 4 mazahib, then in every masla there will be 4 different opinions. That's not the case. In many masail, all 4 imams' verdict is same. In some masail, 3 imams on one side and 1 imam on the other side. In some masail, 2 on one side, the other 2 on one side. In this masla, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, they both say you have to say Ameen silently. And Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, they say you say Ameen loudly. Now this is masla, ikhtilaf, difference of afzal and ghair afzal. More virtuous, less virtuous. Imam Abu Hanifa says it's more virtuous to say it silently, and it is allowed to say loudly. Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad say more virtuous to say loudly, but they are allowed to say silently. So the difference of opinion among the ulama, because they had another hadith before them, that is why they gave the verdict that this is the hadith as well, follow this hadith. So you can't use this argument of idha sahal hadith for madhabi everywhere and say this is the Imam's madhab. Who can tell you that whether Imam Sahib knew this hadith or not? Those who were immediately around Imam Sahib. Qazi Abu Yusuf, he will say that this hadith did not reach Imam Sahib. If we have received this hadith, we will give a verdict according to that hadith. So, this is where people can go wrong. Dr. Zakir Naik, he's a very knowledgeable person, and he gives some, very good answers, very good speeches, very logical answers to many of the critical questions. And, I also listen to him. I like him. Sometimes, he gives real nice answers. Like, for example, he was once asked that, why can people not go into Haramain Sharifain? We allowed you everywhere, so why don't you allow us in Haramain Sharifain? So he gave the reply on the spot. He said that, well, you see, I am an Indian citizen, but I am not allowed everywhere. There are places in India where I can't go, like the army camp. If I want to go there, I need a pass. Many offices, many buildings, governmental buildings, presidential palaces, you need a pass to go there, otherwise you can't go there, even though I am an Indian citizen. So he says, over here as well, you need a pass. And that pass is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. You bring that pass and we will allow you inside. So this is a very good logical answer. So in this way, he gives some real nice answers. But when he stays inside his field, he's a very nice person. Comparative studies of religion, he is a master in his field. But when he goes out of that field and goes into hadith, into tafsir, into fiqh, into tarikh, then that's where he makes masail. A person can't have full knowledge of everything. If you go everywhere, you will make mistakes. So this is where I'm just trying to highlight his mistake so that you can be careful. And when you listen to him, when you feel something is dodgy, don't follow him with regards to mazahib. For example, he is not a Hanafi. He is a ghair muqallid. He is a Salafi. He himself declares. So he says that there is no difference between the salah of a man and woman. A woman should pray salah exactly in the same way as a man prays. She should raise her hands to the ears. She should tie them where the man ties. And she should perform ruku, sajda, and sit exactly like man. Whereas there, fuqaha have mentioned there are 12 differences between the salah of a man and a woman. And the reason for that is the hadith narrated by many, Zamakhshari and others, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِذَا صَلَّتِ الْمَرْأَةُ فَلْتَحْتَفِزْ. Bayhaqi has also narrated this hadith. When a woman prays namaz, she should shrink her body and contract herself. Because that is more لأنه أستر لها, more concealing for her. There was one woman praying namaz, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by. He directed, gave her some instructions, instructed her, and he said, إِنَّ الْمَرْأَةَ لَيْسَتْ فِي ذَلِكَ كَالرَّجُلِ. In this matter, a lady is not like a man. There is difference between them. So from there, the fuqaha derive that she should not lower herself completely in ruku. She should not grab hold of the knees. Rather, she should place her hands on the thighs. And her fingers should be joined with one another throughout the salah. In sajda, she should join her body and her arms to her body and also to her knees as well. She should sit with tawarruk, unlike man. So these are some masail. In the hadith it says that if the imam makes mistakes and behind him is a lady, she should not say subhanallah. The men should say subhanallah, but the women, they should clap on their hands in this manner. So that in order to direct him towards the mistake. So there are differences between the salah of a man and woman. But Dr. Zakir Naik is saying there is no difference between salah of a man and woman. says in one place that 3 talaqs are not 3, only 1. If you give 3 divorce, it will be only counted as 1. This is the view of the non-Muqallideen and the Salafis of this time. Aimmi arba'as, ijma' is that 3 are 3, not 1. So this is how he makes mistake. In one, I was reading this book called Dr. Zakir Naik Ik Mutala. There are some of his mistakes mentioned in there. He was once asked a question that hurum maqsuratun fil khiyam, that in the Quran it says that man will get hurs in Jannah. So what will a woman get in Jannah? So he says, well, you know, Professor Asad so and so has said that hur is an Arabic word which means white in complex. So men will get white complex ladies and women will get men of white complex and white color. So this is how he gave the reply answer in order to convince the ladies in the congregation. Now he is making a mistake over here. First of all, who is Professor Asaduddin? Nobody knows who is Professor Asaduddin. If you want to quote, you quote from the Sahaba, Tabi'een, Tabi Tabi'een. Dr. Zakir Naik rarely mentions the name of any Sahaba or Tabi'een, Tabi Tabi'een or Imma or Fuqaha or any one of them. He will mention some professor or here or there, but not of Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud, Umar ibn Khattab, Usman, Abu Bakr Siddiq, or not of the Tabi'een like Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Mujahid ibn Jabr Ikrimah, or Sa'id ibn Jubair, the great Mufassireens, not of the 4 Imams, not of the Muhaddiseens, and not of the Ulamas who came after. So he doesn't quote ever anything from any of the tafasir of Ibn Kasir or Qurtubi or Khazin or Mazhari or any other tafasir, Ruhul Ma'ani or any other tafasir. He mentions some quote from some Professor Asaduddin who said this, and that quote is also wrong. Because hur is an Arabic word which is plural of hawra. If you go into the Arabic language, you will realize that hawra is a sigha of mu'annath, or wazn of fa'ala, and jama is fu'lun, hurun. So hawra in itself, hur is mu'annath sigha. And in Quran where hur is mentioned, Allah brings the attribute of feminine as well. Allah says hurum maqsuratun. Maqsurat is feminine. وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ. So mutahharatun is feminine. So Allah is mentioning that men will get beautiful, nice women in Jannah. This is what Allah is mentioning. Now you can't distort the meaning and do tahrif of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to just convince the ladies in the congregation. That is wrong. You are messing around with the Quran. This is how the Jews and Christians tampered with their books and distorted the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what Allah said is correct. Now the answer to the original question will be that if you look at the nature of man and woman, you will realize that man is polygamous. He likes many women. But women are naturally not polygamous. They like only one single man. They won't like 10, 15 men to jump over them and sleep with them. No, they normally like one person. They were extremely jealous. They don't like many men. But men like many women. Allah has programmed man and woman in such a manner. So if a lady was told that in Jannah you will get 72 men, a lady, she will feel ashamed. No, I don't want 72 men. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the nature of women. And He knows the nature of man. That is why Allah said, first of all, in the Quran doesn't say 72. Quran just mentions hurun, maqsuratun, azwajun, mutahharatun. It's in the hadith where it comes that men will get multiple women and ladies inside Jannah. So Allah's mentioning that this is what hurun maqsuratun means. But Dr. Zakir Naik there is making the mistake. So you have to be very careful with regards to masail, with regards to tafsir of Quran when he gives any of that. Otherwise, he has done some good work, and may Allah accept his good work. And many people have embraced Islam on his channel, Peace TV. And mashallah, he's a nice person, very knowledgeable person in his field. But he does tend to make these mistakes, and we have to be very careful. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, the most thing I fear over my ummah is zallatul alim, the slipping of an alim. When an alim slips, then many people slip with him. Imam Abu Hanifa was once going, and he saw a young boy walking, and he said, "Oh young man, walk carefully, you might slip and it will dirty your clothes." And the young boy looked at him and said, "Imam Sahab, if I slip, only I will slip, but if you slip, the whole ummah will slip. So you better be more careful." So the boy was much wiser, and Imam Sahib said this is a very hakimana and wise word from that young boy. So the zallatul alim, the slipping of an alim is very dangerous. So this is where sometimes Dr. Zakir Naik slips and he makes mistakes. So you have to be very careful with regards to that. Understand very carefully. Don't take his view with regards to masail. Take the views of the ulama, follow the ulama and listen to them. This is what we need to say. Moving on, there are plenty of things we need to cover over here. Some people say Quran is one, Rasul is one. Then why different maslas? Where do these different maslas come from? We say that Beshak Quran is one. A hadith is of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But are there no, leave the Quran aside, are there no differences in the hadith? Many hadiths different, and in one hadith something, another hadith something we mentioned earlier. So over a 23-year period, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sometimes gave different instructions. So you can't say that there is only one instruction. That first of all, that is wrong. Moving on the Sahabas, there were no differences among the Sahaba. Plenty of differences among Sahaba. They used to have different opinions because understanding the deen is something which every person understands and takes masail from there. Let me give you some examples. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he was of the view that if a person touches his private part, his wudu breaks. But other ulama like Ali, Hazrat Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas and others, Hazrat Ali, Abdullah ibn Abbas and others, they said no, Sa'd ibn Waqqas, that if you touch your penis, your wudu will not break. So there is that difference of opinion among them. And the majority of the ulama and the Sahaba are of the second view that your wuzu does not break. Because there is ijtihad. Some people say you can't leave Sahih Hadith. You have to follow Sahih Hadith. We say that no, sometimes you have to leave Sahih Hadith. Sahaba used to leave Sahih Hadith. Over here in this masla, Mastud Dhakar, Sahaba were told by Busra bint Abi Safwan. She narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he said, "Man massa dhakarahu falyatawadda." Who touches his private part, then he should perform wudu. So a Sahaba said no. We have other hadith from Talq ibn Ali radiallahu anhu. He said that your wuzu does not break. Hal huwa illa bad'atun minka. It is only a part of your body, like your finger, like your nose. If you touch your nose, your wuzu doesn't break. So if you touch your private part, your wuzu doesn't break. So he said that we heard this. It was a common masla. So we don't take your hadith. We take this other hadith. So Sahaba sometimes they knew which hadith to take. They knew the halal. So that is why they had the difference of opinion. Many masail. Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu said, performing wudu with sea water is makruh. But the other Sahaba said, no, if you are in the sea, you need to perform wudu with the sea water, the salty water. It's allowed. If you are on a beach, you want to do wudu with that and pray your namaz on the beach. There is no harm in there. But Abdullah ibn Umar used to say it's makruh to do wudu with the sea water. Similarly, using perfume, itr, on the day of Friday. Abu Huraira said it's wajib. But Abdullah ibn Abbas and most of the Sahaba said it's sunnah. Similarly, if something has been cooked on fire and you eat that, then some Sahabas were of the opinion that your wuzu breaks and you have to do your wuzu again, like Abu Huraira, Anas, Abdullah ibn Umar, Aisha. But other Sahabas, most of them, they said no, your wuzu doesn't break by eating something. Jabir ibn Abdullah narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate some cooked food and then it was time for salat, he got up and he led the salat without doing wuzu. So your wuzu doesn't break because of that hadith. So Sahabas have the differences of opinion. This is research. Difference of opinion is in all fields. So you can't take the argument and say that Quran is one, Rasul is one. So why different masail? No. So there is difference of research, opinion. So there is no harm in there. We say that what is your mazhab? You are non-muqallid. Tell me, is there any ikhtilaf in your non-muqallid imams or not? Plenty of ikhtilaf. Plenty of ikhtilaf, more than the muqallidins. You go, Nawab Siddiq Hasan will say something else, Wahid Zaman will say something else. Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz will say something else, Nasiruddin Albani will say something else. There is plenty of ikhtilaf of opinion among them as well. They are not muttafiq on one masla all the time. Allama Shawkani will say something else, others will say. I don't want to go into detail on that. So you can't put this argument and say that madhab should be one, just one Quran, one hadith and one opinion. You can't have differences of opinion. Another comes that another objection. Why should we follow one imam only? Why can't we take something from here and take something from there? Now over here, if we give the green light to people to pick and choose from mazahib, the same thing will happen which we mentioned earlier of picking, choosing from ahadith. Even, in fact, this will be more dangerous. Because you will take one masla from Shafi mazhab, another masla from Hanafi mazhab. And you will say, today I am doing this, tomorrow I will do that. This is like yuhillunahu aman wa yuharrimunahu aman. So 1 year they say this halal, that haram. Imam Shafi Rahmatullah's mazhab, he will say that according to the mazhab of Shafi, frog is halal. You can use that for medical purposes or some other reason. So he will say we need this, so we will follow the mazhab of Shafi. But at other times we'll say, no, today I am Hanafi, I will become Hanafi and I will not use this. Similarly, with regards to Salah. For example, wudu. Imam Shafi Rahmatullah Alayhi says that if you bleed, your wudu doesn't break. Because wudu only breaks with something that comes out of your two sabilain from Pishab and Paykhana istinja. If anything else comes out from your body, your wudu doesn't break according to Imam Shafi Rahmatullah Alayhi's Madhab. So he says if blood comes out, injury, your wudu doesn't break. Imam Abu Hanifa Rahmatullah Alayhi says your wudu breaks by blood coming out. Another masla. Imam Shafi Rahmatullah Alayhi says if you touch a woman, your wudu breaks. But Imam Abu Hanifa Rahmatullah Alayhi's research is that by touching a woman, your wudu doesn't break. Now let's say if a person is going to pray salat and somehow he had an injury, some blood started coming out. So he said that, oh, this is only a little bit. Shafi says your wudu doesn't break. So he just wiped it off and he started going. And while he was at the door, his wife approached and he kissed her and then he went for salah. Now he says that, oh well, I touched my wife, kissed her, but Imam Abu Hanifa says that wudu doesn't break. He comes in the masjid and he prays namaz. So he thinks that I started bleeding, but Imam Shafi says wudu doesn't break, and I touched my wife, but Abu Hanifa says my wudu doesn't break, so my namaz is correct. In fact, in reality, his namaz will not be correct because of both mazahib. Because of Abu Hanifa's opinion, he was bleeding, and because of the blood, his wudu was broken. And according to Shafi'i, he had touched his wife, woman, so his wudu was broken. So his namaz was not correct according to both mazahib. And he is thinking that my mazhab is correct, I don't have to do wudu again. This is what will happen. For example, during journeys, Imam Shafi'i Rahmatullahi Alayhi is of the opinion that a person becomes muqim if he has the intention to stay at one place for more than 4 days. But Imam Abu Hanifa Rahmatullahi Alayhi says 15 days. So a person is staying at some place for let's say, for example, maybe 8 days. And he thinks that, well, today I'm following Abu Hanifa, and he says if you are for 15 days, then you become muqim. Less than that, you are musafir, so I am musafir. So he starts praying salat of musafir, doing qasr. But at the same time, Imam Shafi Rahmatullah says that qasr is rukhsat. But Imam Abu Hanifa Rahmatullah says it's azimat. So over there he messes around with the qasr, and he doesn't do. So he is playing around with both mazahib. This is what people do. And if you don't understand this, let me give you a recent example. I was traveling with a person who is of a Shafi'i mazhab. So I asked him, something with regards to this. We started talking. He's a good friend of mine. And he says to me, Maulana Sahab, Zohar namaz, I pray according to the Hanfi time, and Isha namaz I pray according to Shafi time. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I go to work, and according to Shafi mazhab, Zohar you can only pray till Misli Awal. But Hanafi you can pray till Misli Sani. So after I come back from home, 5 o'clock, I pray Zohar after Misli Sani, according to the Hanafi mazhab. But in Shafi mazhab, Isha time starts 20 minutes after Maghrib. So after 20 minutes, I pray Isha namaz according to my Shafi mazhab. Now you see this practical example. He is taking what is for his own gain. This comes back to the original where we started from, ittiba'ul hawa. Don't follow your hawa. Don't follow your desires. This is why we say, some people say, well, mazahib were established after maybe 100, 200 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they ask a question, what did the people before that time used to do? Do you understand the question? So I asked them, you tell me, what did the people do? They didn't follow Bukhari, because Bukhari wasn't there. Do you get me? Bukhari came only 200 years, even after the Mazahib, so they didn't follow Bukhari. You tell me what they used to do. Now I'll tell you what they used to do. They used to go to the ulama in the masajid and ask them. And their intention was to look for the best with regards to deen, best possible solution for deen, for their akhirat. So if they ask one person, but they think that no, they go to another person. And they feel that this person is more stricter than the other person, they follow his view. With regards to the masla of a lady who goes for Hajj, she has performed her rituals, but her tawaf-e-wida, last final tawaf is left. And her menstruation starts. So what should she do? Should she leave the tawaf-e-wida and go? Is it allowed? Or does she have to stay for so many days, she becomes part, tawaf-e-wida, then she goes? the people of Medina, they came to Abdullah ibn Abbas and asked him, and he said that, well, she's allowed to go. Tawaf al-Wida is not wajib upon her. So they went to Zayd ibn Sabit, and Zayd ibn Sabit said, no, she has to stay there and she has to perform a Tawaf al-Wida and then she can go. So the people of Medina said, we're not going to take Ibn Abbas's call and leave Zayd ibn Sabit's call. We will practice upon Zayd ibn Sabit's call. Now even here Zayd ibn Sabit's call was harder and stricter for them, but they said we will follow Zayd ibn Sabit. That was their attitude. Even in this day and age, you will get these types of people today as well. That which is more stricter, and this was the attitude of the first people. But when time goes on and people look for an easier way out, that is where Mujtahideen came. And that is, we say, they established the Masail. And this is how you should do. This is from Quran Hadith. So today, in this day and age, if we let people choose from Mazahib, they will pick something from here, pick something from there, pick something from there. That is why we say it's not allowed to pick and choose from Mazahib. You have to follow one strict Mazhab. If you are Hanafi, you follow Hanafi Mazhab, Shafi'i Mazhab, Maliki, Hanbali, you follow your Mazhab. I don't know whether I mentioned this or not. Sheikh Yunus was there, this Habshi person asked him a masla regarding hunting while coming for Hajj. So Sheikh asked him, which Mazhab are you of? And he said, I'm a Maliki Mazhab. So Sheikh gave him fatwa according to the Maliki Mazhab, that Imam Malik's opinion and research in this masla is this. I don't know whether I mentioned before or not, I was sitting in Haram Sharif with Sheikh, and this Egyptian lady came to ask the masla about Hajj, that she was performing tawaf and her Hajj started. So what is the ruling regarding that? So Sheikh asked her, which madhab do you follow? And she said, I follow Imam Abu Hanifa's madhab. So then Sheikh gave her, she was from Egypt, but she was following Abu Hanifa's madhab. So Sheikh gave her instruction according to Hanafi madhab. We were sitting with Sheikh in Haram Sharif, and there was a Chinese man on our side. So Sheikh, after Salat, after reading Quran, he was there, he was reading his tasbih, he started smiling at us. So I also smiled at him. And then Sheikh asked him, Name Shuma Chist, what is your name? And he replied, he gave his name. And then Sheikh asked him, Bar Madhabi Imam Abu Hanifa? And he replied, Bar Madhabi Imam Abu Hanifa, Rahmatullahi alayhi. And then, really, Sheikh was also shocked. So in China you go, there are Hanafis, so you follow Madhab. And that is the instruction of our ulama. And you can't pick and choose from Mazahib. If you want to change your Mazhab, then for permanent, you are allowed. And there are examples where some ulama changed their Mazhab for permanently. Like Imam Tahawi, in the beginning he was Shafi'i, but he changed his Mazhab to Shafi'i. He was Shafi'i, he became a Hanafi. Recent scholars, Ibn Abidin al-Shami in Syria, he was Shafi'i, he turned to the Hanafi Mazhab. And you will get examples of others who were Hanafi and turned Shafi'i, who were Hanbalis and turned Shafi'i. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, he was Hanbali, but he turned to Shafi'i Mazhab. Similarly, many others in this category, you will find, this is a very nice book, this is called At-Tamadhub. And, a friend of mine bought this from me from Egypt. You can't find this book in Saudi Arabia, but you will find it in Egypt and other countries, because they allow the following of other mazahib. And in the Saudi, they say that you just follow what they say and the Zahidi Mazhab. So you won't find this book over there. Their knowledge is very narrow. And in other areas they go, their mind is vast and very broad, and they very flexible with regards to Masail. So this is one of the reasons why we say that you are not allowed to pick and choose from Mazahib, take something from here and there. Otherwise, we have seen people who pick and choose for their own gains, not to follow the stricter ruling of the Mazahib. So there is, this is something over there. One more point I want to mention over here. When we have another objection raised by Ghair Muqallidin, when we have hadith in Bukhari, and then why should we follow other hadith? We say that you have to remember that there are many other ahadith, and you have to take everything into full context. These people say they are zaif ahadith, Bukhari is sahih hadith. We say no, not all ahadith out of Bukhari are zaif. Many ahadith out of Bukhari are also sahih. In Tirmidhi, in Abu Dawud, in Nasai, in Ibn Majah, they are also sahih. So we have to take them into consideration. Even if they were zaif, you don't throw zaif hadith away in the bin. The hadith which you throw in the bin is a mawzu hadith, fabricated, forged hadith you throw in the bin, because it's got nothing to do with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Zaif hadith is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Zaif means weak. It's weak because of the chain of narrations. Because there is a possibility of one of the narrators having a weak memory and making a mistake in narrating the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a possibility that he might have changed one word for the other, thinking they are both same. That is why the hadith's chain becomes a bit weak, and the hadith is classed as weak. It's not of that category of the highest level and of the sahih. It's called classed as weak because of this reason. But we need da'if ahadith. We need. Why? Because if you look at the collection of ahadith, 1/4 of the collection will go at the top level of sahih, but 3/4 of the collection will come under the category of da'if. So if you throw da'if away, like today Nasiruddin Albani is doing, then you throw 3/4 of the hadith away into the bin. And people have no confidence in da'if hadith. They regard da'if and mawzu as both same, and they think that they are both same, then you just need to throw them both away. That's not right. You have to take da'if hadith. Many da'if hadiths collectively reach the rank of a sahih or maybe hasan, and they are we can use them to derive some masla. In fact, Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri has said that with regards to amal on da'if hadith, the Hanafis practice on da'if hadith more than the other ulamas. He said the ulama are of consensus that according to Imam Abu Hanifa, a da'if hadith is more deserved to be practiced upon than qiyas and analogy. Abu Hanifa will say, throw the qiyas away, practice on the da'if hadith. Many places, Shafi'i will not take da'if hadith. He will not take mursal hadith. But Abu Hanifa will take that mursal hadith as well, that da'if hadith as well. Let me give you an example. A person came in masjid, and he was of a short-sighted person, and he tripped and he fell. The salat was taking place. Some of the Sahaba who were standing near him, they started laughing loudly in the namaz. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished the namaz, he said, "Who laughed loudly?" And they said, "We did." He said, "Go, do your wuzu again and repeat your salat." Now this hadith is da'if, but because of that, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi said, "Qahqaha," laughing loudly in namaz, breaks not only namaz but wuzu as well. So if you laugh loudly in salah, your wuzu will also break. You have to go and do wuzu again and then repeat your salah. Even though the hadith is da'if, and the qiyas is that by laughing loudly, nothing has come out from your body, no excrement, no urine, no blood, nothing came out, you only laugh. So the qiyas analogy says your wuzu shouldn't break. But Abu Hanifa said, because it's a da'if hadith, we have to go and perform the wuzu according to that. Da'if hadith in Ibn Majah says that if a person is praying namaz behind an imam, and his wuzu breaks, then he can go, perform wuzu, come back, and continue from that place which he had left. He's called a lahiq. So, and he can catch up with the imam. For example, his wudu break in the first rakat. He can quickly go, perform wudu, and the imam was in the sajda or in the second rakat, so he can continue from that first rakat, do his duku, go in sajda, and join the imam in the second rakat, and after salam, he has to raise salam with his imam. And he doesn't need to repeat the first rakat. So this is called bina. Now this hadith, وَلْيَبْنِ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِ, is da'if in Ibn Majah. But Imam Abu Hanifa said, even though he's moving away from the qibla, he's walking, he's doing wudu, however, he said, in between he must not talk. If he talks, then his salah will break. So he just go quietly, perform wudu, come back, continue from exactly where he stopped. So this is a da'if hadith. But Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah said, even if it's da'if, we practice on there. So this notion that da'if hadith should be thrown in the bin is not correct. And these are some of the objections. And I think we will bring the topic of why following Madhab to a close on this. अगर कोई क्वेश्चन याद हो तो याद दिला दो मेरे को, ताकि इसके अंदर महफूज हो जाए. कोई बात है कहने की डॉक्टर साहब?
हुजूर ने खुद जब फरमाया है कि मेरे खुलफा और राशिदीन मुसलिमीन को आप फॉलो करें, हर फज्जे में आप बताते हैं कि मेरा सबसे बेहतरीन ज़माना
हाँ सुन्नती व सुन्नत खुलफा राशिदीन. सही है,
सही है. decade is no ordinary decade.
जी जी जी,
सुनहरी ज़माना.
सही है. तो इंशाल्लाह इसमें सब कवर हो गए ना सर.
बहुत अच्छा.
मगर
मेरा एक है कि